नमस्कार। हमारा इंटरनेट बंद हो गया था, हम दोबारा से अब जुड़े हैं। कथा उपनिषद पेज 89 पे आ गए हैं और ये इंग्लिश वर्जन जो हम पढ़ रहे हैं तो इसमें वो बता रहे हैं द पाथ ऑफ द स्पिरिट इज बैलेंस हार्मनी, नॉट अ बीटन पाथ ऑन विच यू कैन वॉक ब्लाइंड फोल्डेड. It is a subtle path which you alone can tread, and every individual has a path of his own. Though, broadly speaking, yoga may be one subtly, there are as many paths as there are individuals, with difficulties different from person to person. Hence, the need for a guru who can solve your personal problems which you cannot probe into alone. Thus, it is said, Prapya Varan Nibodhata. Know it by approaching the great ones. Impregnable is this fort, inaccessible is this path, hard to tread because of the subtlety of the edge. The advancing sadhaka faces many difficulties. Insignificant questions, silly things will appear large and important to hinder your advance. The subtle body will begin to operate more and more. Now we are on the physical level alone, physical level only,
Only.
but we can
If I
become more
interrupt you,
subtle in thought.
sorry Deepak ji,
हाँ जी,
interrupt करा.
हाँ
आपने
जी,
कहा था ना कि subtle body
या
works more and more. I mean, there is a answer as well. ये जो कर
हम्म,
रहे हो, it does sharpen.
sharpen the subtle body. Yeah, yoga करते हो तो yes, I mean meditation करते हो तो subtle body becomes sharper and sharper. Yeah, yeah, you have a point there. Good.
सूक्ष्म जो है वही ना, सूक्ष्म
हाँ
शरीर
जी,
जिसको कहते
सूक्ष्म, yeah, सूक्ष्म शरीर. But when we become more subtle in thought, more self controlled, more weaned from objects, the subtle body begins to work in an intense manner. Then we face disturbances of a peculiar nature. We do not know the troubles of the subtle body as long as consciousness is lodged in the physical one. But when we advance, the subtle body vibrates not only when we act physically but also when we think and feel. Later, we begin to see it as we see the outer body and its activities now. We become so sensitive that we cannot bear any disorder. As long as the mind is living in the gross body, it is mostly on that level connected to others. But when it withdraws itself more, it receives subtle vibrations from other subtle bodies, and it can feel and recognize circumstances on a level which is not only conscious but far deeper. In this state, it receives vibrations from the denizens of other worlds and laws operating in the different realms of being. The sthani dharmas. Yeah, sthani dharmas. स्थानी धर्मास प्रथमानि. ये हमारे मंत्रों में भी आया, स्थानी धर्मास. In the earlier stages, it may become receptive to lower spirits, in the higher to divine ones. You may be taken aback when these hindrances come, just as when in Amrita Manthana poison came, the devas withdrew. In the sadhaka, the devas and asuras also work together within to get nectar, and in this contest between the higher forces and the lower ones for a common objective, happiness, Poison alone comes first from the internal practice of churning, because, like the asuras, the senses too want nectar, and so there is often a fall in the lower levels of the practice of yoga when the instincts get stimulated and become passions.
Hmm.
सी जबरदस्त चीज बताई है कि अंदर भी जो चर्निंग चल रही है, उसमें जो आपकी जो सेंसेस हैं, दे आर लाइक असुरास एंड दे वांट द नेक्टर टू ऑफ हैप्पीनेस. सो उनकी हैप्पीनेस मिलती है डिफरेंट चीज़ों से, राइट. तो जो हायर पार्ट है आपका, जो दैट दैट डजंट वांट दैट इज देवता वाला पार्ट है. तो दे वांट द एक्चुअल नेक्टर. सो उसमें फिर फाइट होती है कि भी क्या करें, गो बैक टू योर सेंसेस और withdraw from the senses, kept withdrawn. Many students have fallen on account of not caring for this instruction. Prapya varna nibodhata. The instincts get roused when we rise to the level of the Swadhisthana chakra, according to Kundalini Yoga, and they become more active just as after the churning. When nectar came, there was war between the gods and asuras. This war is mostly unknown to the seeker who has not been properly initiated, because the instruction given by the Guru is not merely into meditation but of the difficulties on the way. He will tell you that at such a place there is a lion, then an elephant, then a pit, and so on. And this is known only to the preceptor who has already trodden the path. Sometimes we know that is what is the front of us by God's grace. Cutting sharp and also invisible to perception. This is the meaning of the words uh, Ksurasya Dhara and Kavayo Vadanti. So now there is number 15. Ashabdam Asaprasham Arupam Avyayam Tatha Arsham Nityam Agad Vach Cha Yat Anadi Anantam Mahatah Param Dhruvam Nityat Tam Mrityu Muktah Mukhata Pramuchyate. My dear child, you cannot see anything there because the self is not an object of the senses. You cannot use the light of a torch and look. It is soundless, touchless, undecaying, without taste. It is formless, the presupposition of all change, without beginning, without end. It is not anything that can be equated with the processes of time. All these are external to the imperishable, and while the senses can grasp objects, it is imperceptible. Objects have a limitation of their own, a body, a location, and so you can observe them. But this reality, which is beginningless, is raised above all empirical concepts. It is ranging beyond the intellect, not merely the individual, but also the cosmic. Only after beholding the glory of this infinite one can be freed from the mouth of death. We are in Mrityu Lok, the world of death, where anything may go at any time. The next moment is not known. Can there be a more unfortunate thing than this? The soul may pass away any time and you do not know where it goes. Such is the uncertainty of this world with which we get involved, and it is most curious that our minds get attached to things which are tantalizing, and that we go to the very same objects which have deceived others. Knowingly, we enter the jaws of death in the form of this world. This mrityu, which is widespread, is everywhere, not only in one place. A person is born with his death. The, the event of death is for all common perception a future one, but the cause or potential is born with us. It is only a gradual unfoldment towards the manifestation at a particular time. As all the details of a tree are potentially present in the seed, so are the sets of circumstances born with us. In such a world of death are we, and to be free from it, we have to realize that the deathless reality which is described as the transcendence of the senses, mind, and intellect, and identification with our own self. 412 हो गए. So now we are on page 92, and this is shlok number 16 of this
15
chapter.
में तो 15 में तो यही है कि विड्रॉल योर सेंस, जो 5 तन मात्रें हैं,
हाँ जी.
शब्द स्पर्श रूप रस गंध, तो इनसे विड्रॉ करके जो इनको जान जाता है वही आत्म तत्व को जानता है. आई थिंक दिस इज द 15 ईयर
हाँ जी.
जो शब्द स्पर्श रूप रस गंध से जो विड्रॉ योर सेंसेस,
Yeah,
उसको विड्रॉल करना, प्रत्याहार करना, वही जानता
yeah,
है.
yeah. और कितना हार्ड है वो भी बता रहे हैं कि इट्स नॉट इजी.
वो तो 14 में बताया कितना हार्ड है, जैसे स्वॉर्ड की तरह. बिल्कुल कोई तत्व ज्ञानी इसको बता सकता है,
या
लेकिन उसके उसके लिए भी बड़ा दुर्गम मार्ग है. इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट पाथ
या
इवन टू नो फ्रॉम द सीकर.
या
जो सेल्फ इल्यूमिनेट है, तत्व ज्ञानी है, उससे भी जानना बड़ा दुर्गम है.
या
इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट पाथ.
या हमारे लिए तो इतना ही पर्याप्त है कि एटलीस्ट वी आर कमिंग टू नो दिस नॉलेज. रीड
जो
इट एटलीस्ट.
प्रैक्टिस 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 यही है बस,
या
अभ्यास अभ्यास से
या
अल्टीमेटली वी कैन नो द
या
अल्टीमेट रियलिटी. अभ्यास से.
या तो चलिए, तो अगला है जो श्लोक 16. इट इज द हेडिंग ऑफ दिस वन इज द इमोर्टल वैल्यू ऑफ दिस टीचिंग. नचिकेतम उपाख्यानाम मृत्यु प्रोक्तम सनातनम उक्त्वा श्रुत्वा च मेधावी ब्रह्म लोक महीयाते. The first half of the Upanishad is over. Many think that because it ends with eulogy, the parts that follow now were added later. This story of Nachiketas, this knowledge of the universal fire of the Atman, has been told to you in all detail. If a person speaks or receives this wisdom in honesty, he will reign supreme in the realm of the Creator Brahma. Creator Brahma. Okay, number 17. Ya imam paramam guhyam श्रवयेद ब्रह्म संसदि प्रत्यहतः श्रद्धा काले वा ताद अनन्त्याया कल्पते tadantayaya kalpate. This Upanishad, the secret of secrets, contains the most hidden knowledge unavailable to people on this earth. Whoso shall cause this its recital in an assembly of wise mentors at the ceremony called Shraddha or any other form of worship, thus purifying all rituals and giving meaning to them, becomes fit for immortality and becomes infinite in this knowledge, in his knowledge. तो यहाँ पर ये चैप्टर समाप्त कर दिया है उन्होंने, और उसके बाद वो कह रहे हैं कि ये लोगों को लगता है कि इसके बाद का जितना भी है पोर्शन ये बाद में जोड़ा गया है, पर उसके ऊपर वो बाद में बात करेंगे. चैप्टर 2 सेक्शन 1 द इंट्रिकेसीज ऑफ द इनर वे ऑफ द स्पिरिट. The nature of the path and the way of treading it have been described up to the conclusion of the first chapter. This section 1 of chapter 2 describes in more detail the intricacies of the inner way of the spirit and proclaims that until the supreme reality is reached, man is not going to have any peace. All efforts in whatever direction are a failure, and all wealth and fame in all the worlds will pale away if this supreme being is not realized. Everything shall flee and perish without giving the least comfort if you try to acquire, possess, or enjoy it without a knowledge of this reality. The worth of all things lies in it alone. The self is not to be sought through the senses. Number 1 श्लोक यहाँ का. प्रंची खानी व्यत्रणात् स्वयंभूस तस्मात् परान पश्यति नान्यत्रात्मन् कश्चित् धीरः प्रत्यगात्मानम् एकशद आवृत्त चक्षुर अमृत स्वम ichan. A philosophical and psychological truth is stated in this verse, summing up human potential as well as the nature of divine truth. The original creator inflicted the senses to go outwardly, so everyone looks externally, desiring immortality, not satisfied in this world. Some wise man turns within, self-controlled and heroic. We do not behold the Atman because of the original difficulty that seems to be sympathetically working everywhere, a tendency being set at work at the beginning of creation to gaze outward. All creation is doing so. God looks at himself in space. The will of Ishvara is this original gazing or sankalpa, the creative affirmation, a fundamental urge, though consciously initiated in the beginning, a deliberate and willful tendency to look at himself, to be conscious of himself, to enjoy himself, and to do this in the form of vast panorama of creation. This Brahma Sankalpa to create is so powerful that it is felt in every part of the universe, which is his body, just as the effect of our thinking is felt in every pore of us. Wow, that's a good explanation. That supreme idea takes a concrete form through every part, every being, everything is made to think in accordance with that original ideation, though distorted. The child may imitate his father in a wrong manner. He gazed at nothing but himself, a sankalp, raving itself for an object. While this is his original act, and while we try to imitate it, our error seems to be the other ideation in us as against self ideation in God. The senses of the human being, of all beings, seem to be inflicted with the punishment of looking and projecting outward. The original sankalpa of Ishvara is a conscious movement of thought. While we think without having any control over it, we drift with creation. While in Ishvara, creation drifts with his will. We drift with creation, while in Ishvara, creation drifts with his will. The jivas are isolated centers of thought, thinking of not only themselves but of others in the form of objects. In God thought, others are not objects but subjects. We cannot understand what his thought is because we have never seen him. In us, thoughts work in a mysterious way, independently catching hold of the impulse to create and thus making us totally unaware that there is a consciousness at all. So much so that there is only world consciousness and no self consciousness, to the extent that even the Atman is denied. The Atman denies himself. I do not exist. You, as a center of consciousness, have identified yourself with the object, including your own body, so much that you see only them and are not aware of self consciousness. This is the deterioration of the original will, the mystery of God's descent into Jiva consciousness. This is Maya. So we are world conscious, body conscious, worried because we have lost our beingness in objects. We exist as them. There is only a heap of them, the world. But there are rare souls who have got a glimpse of what is behind it. How they have come upon this Atman in the midst of the darkness of objects and seen light which is not otherwise seen is a miracle. How God became this world is a mystery. And how knowledge arises in the Jiva is a mystery too. Dhira's strong, desireless minds who have self-control are the ones who have turned their gaze inward and seen their Atman, and the Upanishads are their revelations. Consciousness drifts away in space and time. This is creation. The scriptures tell us that there have been stages of descent of consciousness. Just as a stone thrown into the middle of the still waters of a lake creates waves deep in the center and becomes weak in the periphery, the original will of Ishvara becomes weaker and weaker as it goes through the human beings, the animal and vegetable kingdoms, and becomes finally arrested of all its outgoing tendencies when it reaches inanimate matter. We, as waves produced by the momentum of Ishvara Sankalpa, are in one of the conditions of descent. Because of this, we are compelled to go outward, not inward. This is drifting. If this drifting is allowed to go uncontrolled, we go to the realms lower than human. But if it is checked and allowed to know its consciousness, it may try to recede rather than proceed and become the ripple beholding its bottom, which is the substance of all waves. ठीक है, एक और पढ़ लेते हैं. नंबर 2. पराच कामान अनुयन्ति बालास्ते मृत्योर्यन्ति वितस्य पाशम् अथा धीरा अमृतत्वं विदित्वा ध्रुवम् अध्रुवेश इह न प्रार्थ्यन्ते. Children, therefore, who have no knowledge of what is happening, go after objects and thus to destruction. This mrityu that is spread everywhere, into it they fall by falling into the net of objects. Because when you get lost in any sense object, you are sure to perish. The consciousness that gets attached to objects is death. When the object dies, consciousness too seems to die because of its identification with the former. Though it never dies, all affections are of this nature. If the object with which we are identified fails, as everything has to fail, consciousness also fails and gets extinguished, and that is called death. The struggling of consciousness to recognize itself in that object which has gone away from its clutches is state of preta loka. Literally, pret is that which is dead. When consciousness, due to attachment, tries to catch hold of what is lost, what is in a different condition, it is in pret. The body is ourself, and when we have to go, when the body is destroyed, consciousness seems to go with it. It feels it is the body, and then it is the body. Pain of death is experienced by consciousness when its immediate object, the body, perishes, and also when other objects go. When you regard yourself as I and refer to the body, and as time sweeps all away, it cannot exist forever. This is the law of individuality. No part which is separated from the whole can remain so isolated always. It goes back to the whole. Thus, Yama is operating everywhere as time. Death is a blessing, an eye-opener, otherwise we would remain ever bound to this body because we are so much attached to it. As long as this attachment is powerful, we take another body. Though Yama snatches the present one, and so we are born and die, and we undergo samsara because we regard objects as ourselves and our body as the most immediate one. Immature ones who have such attachment to tantalizing objects naturally fall into the net of death. Yama is the form of the objects, and he is everywhere, as God is everywhere. From one point of view, it is Ishvara, and from another point of view, it is Kala or Yama. Yeah. God destroys you if you don't want Him. He saves you if you want him. When you turn away from him, he destroys you as Rudra. And when you turn to him, he receives you as Vishnu, calm and peaceful. When you go beyond the limitation of freedom given to you, you are punished, whether by the government, health, or God. If you overeat one day or a few days, the stomach will tolerate it. But if you persist in this practice, you will fall sick. So is the case with God's law. Duryodhana was given a long rope but finally punished when the limit was reached. Life is such an integrated completeness that you cannot bifurcate it as spiritual and material. It is one. What is called material life is the turning away of consciousness and losing itself in objects. When there is self consciousness and you feel a dissatisfaction with the things on earth, then you are getting awakened to superphysical consciousness. When you feel something higher, you become spiritual. Therefore, babies, they are with no understanding whatsoever, who go to objects of the world, who think there is pleasure there. The objects are nooses of Yama, and whoever goes to them is caught, like fishes get caught in a net cast out in the ocean. Die we shall if we go near objects. Dhiras, heroes, spiritual giants, self controlled beings who have mastered their mind and senses feel something immortal in the objects of the world. They do not want objects, but that which is hidden behind them. The consciousness that has been lost in objects, how are we to extricate it, to wean the mind from things? How is this difficult task performed? The next mantra gives a clue to it. And we will come to the next mantra in our next meeting. So we will conclude up to here today, and we will come to the shloka number 3 of chapter 2, section 1 next time. And we are on page 98 now. So we will conclude this discussion here today. ठीक है जी. इसके बाद हम लोग एक आध भजन कर लेंगे, and then we will do meditation. जितेंद्र जी तो आज जुड़ नहीं पाए. आपका कोई भजन हो तो तैयार रखिए गाने के लिए. कौन सा भजन गाएं आज? चलिए तो इसमें से ही देखते हैं. लाइब्रेरी. भजन कैरियोकी. चलिए ये वाला कहते हैं। जैसे सूरज की गर्मी से जलते हुए तन को मिल जाए तरवर की छाया, ऐसा ही सुख मेरे मन को मिला है मैं जब से शरण तेरी आया मेरे राम। सूरज की गर्मी से जलते हुए तन को मिल जाए तरवर की छाया, ऐसा ही सुख मेरे मन को मिला है मैं जब से शरण तेरी आया मेरे राम। सूरज की गर्मी से जलते हुए तन को मिल जाए तरवर की छाया। भटका हुआ मेरा मन था कोई मिल ना रहा था सहारा, लहरों से लड़ती हुई नाव को जैसे मिलना रहा हो किनारा, मिलना रहा हो किनारा। भटका हुआ मेरा मन था कोई मिल ना रहा था सहारा, लहरों से लड़ती हुई नाव को जैसे मिलना रहा हो किनारा, मिलना रहा हो किनारा। उस लड़खड़ाती हुई नाव को जो किसी ने किनारा दिखाया, ऐसा ही सुख मेरे मन को मिला है मैं जब से शरण तेरी आया मेरे राम। सूरज की गर्मी से जलते हुए तन को मिल जाए तरवर की छाया। शीतल बने आग चंदन के जैसी राघव कृपा हो जो तेरी, उजियाली पूनम की हो जाए रातें जो थी अमावस अंधेरी, जो थी अमावस अंधेरी। शीतल बने आग चंदन के जैसी राघव कृपा हो जो तेरी, उजियाली पूनम की हो जाए रातें जो थी अमावस अंधेरी, जो थी अमावस अंधेरी। युग युग से प्यासी मरुभूमि ने जैसे सावन को संदेश पाया, ऐसा ही सुख मेरे मन को मिला है मैं जब से शरण तेरी आया मेरे राम। सूरज की गर्मी से जलते हुए तन को मिल जाए तरवर की छाया। राह की मंजिल तेरा मिलन हो, उस पर कदम मैं बढ़ाऊं। फूलों में खारों में पतझड़ बहारों में मैं ना कभी डगमगाऊं। जिस राह की मंजिल तेरा मिलन हो, उस पर कदम मैं बढ़ाऊं। फूलों में खारों में पतझड़ बहारों में मैं ना कभी डगमगाऊं, मैं ना कभी डगमगाऊं। पानी के प्यासे को तकदीर ने जैसे जी भर के अमृत पिलाया, ऐसा ही सुख मेरे मन को मिला है मैं जब से शरण तेरी आया मेरे राम। सूरज की गर्मी से जलते हुए तन को मिल जाए तरवर की छाया, ऐसा ही सुख मेरे मन को मिला है मैं जब से शरण तेरी आया मेरे राम, आया मेरे राम, आया मेरे राम।
बहुत सुंदर,
बहुत बढ़िया।
बहुत
It was difficult some bhajan to sing.
पूरी आवाज निकाल दी।
ऊपर जाता है ना बहुत।
अब एक और सुना दे।
आप लोग सुनाइए कोई।
हमको सुनना ही आता है।
नहीं नहीं, आपको आता है। आपने कॉपी रखी हुई अपनी भजनों की।
नहीं, आप सुनाइए। इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, ये सुना दे।
इतनी शक्ति, चलो राजी को सुनाएंगे।
अब आप ही सुनाइए, उषा जी करेंगे। आप ही सुनाइए।
नहीं, आज मैंने प्रिपेयर नहीं कुछ किया, बात करूंगी तो फिर जरूर सुनाऊंगी। आज तो मैंने भगवान से शक्ति मांगनी है। सुबह तो मेरे राइट लेग इतनी स्टिफ हो गई थी कि मैं एक कदम भी नहीं उठा सकती थी।
ओह अच्छा।
तो बच्चों ने किया जो कर सकते थे, तो इसलिए शक्ति मांग रही हूँ ताकि थोड़ा अब थोड़ा थोड़ा चलने लगी हूँ। ठीक
अच्छा।
हो जाएगा। आर्थराइटिस पड़ा हुआ था ना, बच्चे कहते हैं ऑपरेशन करा, मैंने कहना कराना नहीं। तो इसलिए शक्ति भगवान दे।
वाह, चलिए तो ये वाला ही गाते हैं। इतनी इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना। इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना। हम चले नेक रास्ते पे हमसे भूल कर भी कोई भूल होना। इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना। हम चले नेक रास्ते पे हमसे भूल कर भी कोई भूल होना। इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना। दूर अज्ञान के हों अंधेरे, तू हमें ज्ञान की रोशनी दे। हर बुराई से बच के रहें हम, जितनी भी दे भली जिंदगी दे। बैर होना किसी का किसी से, भावना मन में बदले की होना। हम चले नेक रास्ते पे, हमसे भूल कर भी कोई भूल होना। इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना। हम न सोचे हमें क्या मिला है, हम ये सोचे किया क्या है अर्पण। फूल खुशियों के बांटे सभी को, सबका जीवन ही मन बन जाए मधुबन। अपनी करुणा का जल तू बहा के, कर दे पावन हर एक मन का कोना। हम चले नेक रास्ते पे, हमसे भूल कर भी कोई भूल होना। इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना। हर तरफ जुल्म है, बेबसी है, सहमा सहमा सा हर आदमी है। पाप का बोझ बढ़ता ही जाए, जाने कैसे ये धरती थमी है। बोझ ममता से ये तू उठा ले, तेरी रचना का ये अंत होना। हम चले नेक रास्ते पे, हमसे भूल कर भी कोई भूल होना। इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना। हम अंधेरे में हैं, रोशनी दे। खो न दे खुद को ही दुश्मनी से, हम सजा पाए अपने किए की। मौत भी हो तो सहले खुशी से, कल जो गुजरा है फिर से न गुजरे। आने वाला वो कल ऐसा होना। हम चले नेक रास्ते पे, हमसे भूल कर भी कोई भूल होना। इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना।
Very nice.
चलिए, थैंक यू। चलिए 4:51 हो गए हैं। 10 मिनट्स मेडिटेशन के लिए बैठ जाएंगे। बॉडी को, नेक को सीधा करके इन लाइन। और एक मंत्र मैं बोलूँगा, उसी के साथ 10 मिनट्स का टाइमर लगा दूंगा। आप सबको पता है मेडिटेशन का क्या सिस्टम है। ओम नमो भगवते तस्मै यत एतच्चिदात्मकम् पुरुषाय आदिबीजाय परेशाय